Today, I figured I started out with the arrow, so I figured I would move on to the next biggest thing. So again, this is Starfarer Gamer, and if you like, please like, comment, and subscribe. So I went from a very agile ship to currently the exact opposite in the game. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Starfarer Gemini, a big, honky lady, as you can see. She's got lots of mass as far as aerodynamics is concerned. She's got pretty much none. She's got a fin in the back for whatever good that might do. She's got some big retro thrusters. She's got some big thrusters in the back. Again, this is all to help fly the ship that is massive and thick, is the only way to describe it. This is a ship that is again intended to refuel other ships. When it originally pitched to us, it was supposed to mine quantum fuel. It was supposed to have a lot of different purposes in the verse. But right now it basically just can carry 200-ish units of cargo very poorly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over it today as far as, not a review of the ship, but a review of its flight handling, flight model, and how she flies, and how the cockpit is laid out, and whether or not it makes sense from a pilot's perspective. So again, I've never flown a spaceship, but I've flown a lot of airplanes. So again, we're looking here, we got a very similar HUD to the Arrow. On the left is the speed, on the right is the quantum fuel, on the bottom left is your hydrogen fuel, flares, G-meter, gear up, gear down, etc. So again, from this perspective, got the MFDs, but again, being a MISC ship, which is a brand, Musashi Industrial Concerns, it's, instead of being actual screens you touch, they're holographic. You still interact with them in the same way, pushing buttons, etc. But again, you'll notice that the interactiveness is leaving something to be desired. I'll go ahead and start her back up. You push the buttons, and you have to hold down F, and if you have to scroll, you end up zooming in and out. So again, I can't recommend Game Glass enough. If you've ever heard of Game Glass, it's a great ship system. So it's very handy. Alright, so we're going to come look here at the actual cockpit itself. We've got a panel over here, which, from what I can tell, does nothing. When you target something, it shows up there, and you can scroll through targets, but again, you're going to use your buttons for that. The power on switch is here, engine on, engine off, spool quantum drive, that's all fine. They're buttons, I can understand. We've got a regular touch screen over there, another regular screen over here. Here you can open the exterior, unlock the ship. Not a lot of functionality, like I said. You got the co-pilot seat over there, which can't actually fly the ship. You've got an empty cutout. That's something I would like to see from CIG, the option to pilot the ship from the left or from the right. I don't know why they don't have that functionality. Right now, if you sit in the right seat, you literally held onto the dash like you're afraid of flying. On this side, we have a kind of airliner, larger ship style control yoke, which I like, which, is a good positive thing. Again, here, notice rudder pedals don't do anything. They are fixed, but you do move the yoke left and right. You got, let me unlock my screen and look down. See, this is the hard thing, is it's hard to look down. There we go. Nope. If I rotate, you can't really see it, but you can just at the very bottom of the screen, you can see it rotates. The yoke left and right. Throttle is with your left foot. Reverse is with the right foot. So, kind of like a car or a large industrial machine. So again, does it make sense? I guess so. We're assuming that you need, slow, steadier control inputs. So you need both hands to fly this ship, which I could see. I could see that. It's a big ship. So I could see using your feet as the throttle. But then again, your yaw is 100%. Just this kind of interesting twitch of the fly-by-wire system. I would assume it's fly-by-wire. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and head on down to the planet after we do a little bit of flying here in space. So, yaw is acceptable. Roll is, oof. I mean, again, I expect this ship to handle slowly. It has a lot of mass. It'll take you a while to change direction. Fully understandable. Use some boost. And again, that vector you see coming down, that little square, that's actually your ship's vector. So you'll see it lags behind your movement. You can use boost to catch it back up. So here we're going to do just a left 180-degree turn. Very slow, y'all. But again, it makes sense. It's a large ship. Even in space, you have mass to move. Come around and face 180. Now we're faced backwards. And we're actually flying backwards at velocity. I can use the boost. Try to slow us down and face the other direction. It's going to take a long time. She's not a fast girl. Alright, so pitch. It's also slow. This is not a combat ship, so you don't expect it to be quick. You'll notice that flight path vector is not really changing very quickly. It takes a long time, so you need to anticipate. One of my earlier videos, I was trying to land this, and I was in a hurry, and it had been a long time since I flew the Starfarer, and one of my viewers commented I needed to have more patience with my ship and recommended auto land. The reason I didn't have a lot of patience with it is because one, I wasn't I hadn't flown it in a long time. I'd forgotten just how slow she is to respond, and two, we're gonna cover this in a little bit. We're gonna go down to atmosphere, and we're gonna cover. You'll remember earlier I discussed how the Arrow had aerodynamic surfaces, and I didn't know if it made a whole lot of sense how the game handles atmospheric flight. I have aerodynamic surfaces, wings, ailerons, elevator. Yet when I roll the aircraft, it doesn't have a pitch or a roll. It doesn't want to turn on its own. You have to pull back on the stick. And I was saying, well, if the aerodynamics aren't affecting the spacecraft because of, how it's designed, be it shield, hand wavium, or how the ship is, the thrusters or what are actually providing the lift and not the wings, that's fine. But if you're going to do that, then the same needs to apply to all ships, and they do not. Let's go to one, preferably fine. If they shoot at me, it's not going to be a big deal, so we'll go to this one. And again, so my view is, alright, if these spacecraft do not need to have aerodynamic, then you shouldn't be penalizing the ones that don't. I understand giving benefits to the ones to do, but I want to see some aerodynamic impact. I want to see those wings do something other than get shot off in combat. I want to see, an increase in the amount of speed that they can withhold in atmosphere, less slowing down as they descend into the thicker atmosphere, something along those lines. We're currently not seeing that. Again, it's a very early iteration of the... Actually, no, this isn't an early iteration of the flight model. We've had multiple flight models. But we're going to see here, again, this is a large, heavy ship, right? Perfectly understandable, but you're going to assume that you've got some anti-grav thrusters to help with atmospheric flight. So we're going to come down here at a little lower atmosphere. This maneuvering speed is very slow on this. That's 100 meters per second, 90, down in that very low range, which is understandable. Again, large ship, I'll give it to you. Exterior view of the big girl. We'll move it in more of a watch the ship fly perspective. So here's your roll rate. Just abysmally slow because she's big. Understandable. But pitch up. Roll. You can see the same kind of effect. Except wait, now my nose is dropping some. Not a lot, it drops a little bit. But notice it's still this flying like it's on rails, as if gravity is not affecting it, aerodynamics aren't affecting it. It's a big brick, okay? I don't expect aerodynamics to affect it. But why is it affecting the smaller ship? We'll go into the actual cockpit so we can actually see how she's handling. You see down there is the flight path vector. So I am currently pitched up 5 degrees on a bank, but I am descending right now. We're 3,400, altitude's the top left. So we're actually descending as we're pitched. I'll roll it upright. And we're climbing. So we're seeing the kind of behavior you would see in an airplane, where if you roll the ship, then you get less vertical component of thrust and the ship starts to descend. So we're seeing some of the same physics you would see for something with wings, but we don't have wings. So why is that happening? Put it in level flight. There we go. We've got our flight path vectors, level at 0. Put it in another roll. And we immediately begin to descend. So if I want to maintain level, I have to pitch up and pull back on the stick. Quite a bit, actually, to maintain altitude. So let's see, let's pitch up. There we go, I'm climbing again. So quite a bit of pitch and quite a bit of roll as you're maneuvering to maintain altitude. So it's acting like a large transport category aircraft. That's how this is handling. This is the flight model for the ship in atmosphere. It handles very similar to, let's say, an airliner. You can't yank bank. You can't fly it like you expect it to do exactly what your control inputs do. You have to pay attention and have what's called a scan. You have to look at your airspeed. You have to look at your altitude, your pitch, your roll, your yaw. All this now plays an effect. So the problem is when you jump from a ship that aerodynamics have no effect, one that looks like an airplane, to something like this, where you look at it and you say, it's a flying brick. Aerodynamics should have no effect. But then they do. You get frustrated because you're playing a video game that is telling you that, don't worry, you can fly as fast as you want, pitch up, roll. It flies through space through hand-wavium magic and really powerful thrusters that overcome gravity. You can roll at 90 degrees of bank and still maintain altitude. Oh, but wait, not in this ship. The next ship review I'm probably going to do is a Constellation, which suffers from the same things. Actually, a little bit worse than the Starfarer. We're going to do some other ships there. We're going to go down to low altitude now, and we're going to show landing. Just landing the ship. We'll go in this nice, kind of easy to see area. Should be pretty easy to land. Bring the speed back. And again, don't get me wrong, I have nothing wrong with how this ship handles as a large, heavy ship. It's fine. It handles like it should. If I speed up and then I bring my power back, I have momentum, I have gravity. It's going to take time to slow down. I may have to apply reverse thrust to slow down in time. I might have to actually use up thrusters to help slow my descent so I don't crash. I'm fine with this. But I think it needs to apply to all ships. Obviously to different extents for heavier versus lighter ships. The Caterpillar empty versus Caterpillar fully laden. Starfarer empty versus Caterpillar fully laden. An Anvil Arrow versus a Saber versus a Hornet. All of them need to have different ways of handling themselves. That's all I'm saying. So here I need to pitch up. I'm using some up thrust, use some boost, and there I'm able to arrest my descent and land the airplane, or the ship. Right here, boom. Perfect landing. Looks great. So again, my comment on this is actually I'm fine with the flight model of the Starfarer. I'm fine with the flight model on the Arrow. But this is another case where we have some inconsistencies between how the two handle, and I would like them handled differently. I would like the Starfarer to handle like a large transport category aircraft, but then when I jump into the Arrow, I expect it to handle like a light fighter, which it does, but it doesn't in atmosphere. In space, they are both perfectly fine. I am very happy with the flight model. I'm happy with the cockpit layout on the Starfarer. They're very reminiscent of a larger aircraft. But again, why do we only have controls on one side? In a cockpit setup where you have a captain's chair here, a pilot, a co-pilot, we're going to assume engineering and scanning. Why only have one set of controls? You could have two pilots. Hey, I'm tired of flying this, or I'm not a combat pilot. You want to take over? Sure, I'll take over on this seat. I just want to see dual controls to allow you to operate this aircraft this spaceship from either seat. And larger aircraft, I think that's mandatory. Obviously, the Air only has one seat. Obviously, in the Hornet, I wouldn't quite expect that. But in something this large, where you're going to have a crew of more than one person, you're carrying cargo, you're carrying fuel. This is the Gemini, so you're doing so for a military convoy. You're interacting with large capital ships. You probably have a military crew. 2 pilots. It makes sense. Someone to share the load, to assist with steering the aircraft. You're probably going to have someone down here handling loading and unloading cargo. We're obviously carrying Marines here on this thing as added internal security. It's a large ship, and I understand it should fly the way it does, and I think they've handled it well from that perspective. But for the actual functionality of the cockpit, I think more work needs to be put into the multi-crew aspect of this very large tanker, which, again, I love the ship, but we need the gameplay, and I do think it needs to be a multi-crew, true multi-crew craft. Again, thanks for watching.